What's going on YouTube? Q back here again with another video for you. Today's video, I'm here to talk about how I could get rid of my V8 muscle cars for these two. So if you've been with the channel for a long time, you know this channel was basically a muscle car channel. So I had Camaro SS1LE, had a Hellcat, something crazy, that was my color. Had a GT350, a Mustang GT, a ZL1 Camaro, and now I have my horsepower and I got two Japanese cars, two JDM. Got the GR Corolla, Integra Type S. So a lot of people think like, man, Q must be going through it. How could he get rid of his V8, his ZL1, his GT350? That was my dream car. And to be honest, those weren't my dream cars. They're awesome cars. They're just not my favorite car of all time. And I have even sold my favorite cars of all time at a point in time. It's just something that I do. I gotta get my hands on every car. But I'm here to talk about how I could get rid of my V8s for these two, because a lot of people think this is a huge downgrade. But I'm here to tell you, it's not a downgrade. It's different. That's all it is. It's difference. Both of these cars are extremely fun. My V8s were extremely fun. And I do want to add another V8 back to the channel. Maybe next year. Who knows? Who stays, who goes? Do I just add one? I don't know. Time will tell. Before I get into the video, I want to give a shout out to the brother Blueprint 1LE. So if you look at this shirt, only Chevys, and I'm wearing it backwards. So let me get closer. So if you look at this beast on here, y'all recognize that? That's my Rapid Blue ZL1. So I made the cut for the Only Chevys t-shirt. So this is the back of the shirt. I'm gonna turn it around at some point, but I like this thing, man. Blueprint did his thing, put his foot in it, so shout out to him. I'll put a link to this t-shirt in my description. He also has hoodies too. I should have got the hoodie because it's hoodie season here in Michigan, but go check it out. And also check out the rest of the Men of Culture. We got Race Car Friends and 100 Gang Nate. So the more and more I drove my muscle cars, the more I realized one thing. My skill didn't match those cars. I'm fully transparent about that. I'm not the most highly skilled person out there. And I realized that I needed to dial it back. So my ZL1 was the last muscle car that I had. Well, actually the M2, if you want to count that as a muscle car. It technically is a muscle car, same recipe. And that car was amazing too. Most fun car I had on this channel in my opinion. But the ZL1, like driving that car on the track, that car is just too powerful. And I say that a lot. And people look at me like, you can't have enough power. I disagree, because all of these cars are my daily drivers. I drive these cars to work every day. I haul my family around. So it's too much power to enjoy the car how it's meant to be driven. It's like a lion in the cage. The ZL1 was extremely capable. And even on the tracks that I frequent, that car is way too capable to even come close to the limits on there. Because as you guys are saying, I was driving that car slow on the track. It looked like I was driving it slow, but the car is so composed, the limits are so high that it just doesn't look the same. I drove the Integra on the same track. People were saying, and I took the GT350 on the same track. On the last video I went to at Waterford Hills, I drove the GT350 on the same track. People said I was flying in this car. And my speeds in the GT350 were higher. But the way that this car drives and how you approach the limits is just a lot more fun to be able to approach those limits. The GT350, that car is extremely capable too. You just can't approach those limits on these tracks. And so for me, I personally had to dial back the cars to be able to be a better driver. Because that's my personal goal. I want to be able to be a better, more complete driver, be able to drive spiritually at the limits, coming to the limits, crossing the limits. I need to be able to handle these cars, so I had to dial my skills back. Front wheel drive is like the beginner to that, because it's the easiest to drive, especially towards the limit, because the car is so predictable. The GR Corolla is all-wheel drive, also a lot easier. So the GR Corolla, that wasn't going to be the car that I was going to get initially. This car was going to be a 2SS1LE and Wild Cherry, but the numbers didn't work out. I was talking to a person who's going to buy a private sale, somebody that's this car has been on the channel before, and he actually raced Blueprint 1LE on his Camaro that's on this t-shirt, and Blueprint lost. No shout out to Blueprint for that. But we came to within $1,000 of a negotiation price, and I just wanted the cheapest car at the time. It was either this GR Corolla or that SS1LE, 2SS1LE. I feel that's the perfect Camaro for me, and we just couldn't come to a term, so this was the cheaper car, so that's what I went with. And of course, after I bought this car, he dropped the price down $2,000 lower than what I paid for this. But it was too late. I couldn't make a move. So all the muscle cars that I had, I feel like the BMW M2 that I just had last, that car was it was definitely the most fun. But that car at that power level, that's where I need to be to hone in my skills. Maybe even a little less, but around there, like the 400 horsepower, maybe 350. But what cars had 350? The Supra, that would have been perfect. Supra or the Nissan Z, but those weren't available. The M2 was supposed to be a Supra, but I couldn't find one, not for a reasonable price. So the V8s have a whole lot working for them. Like, it's a lot that I do love about the V8s. First thing I love about them over anything, it's always the first mod that I do. I got modifications for all my cars on this channel with exhaust that had a V8, even the M2. So my Mustang GT had the Steeda H-pipe. GT350 had the Corsa double mid-pipe, double X mid-pipe. The SS1LE had the Borla axle backs, carbon fiber tips. For the ZL1, I had the MRT catback. That was great. And the M2, I had a custom mid-pipe on there. All of my cars get the exhaust. Even the Hellcat, that one had a mid-muffler delete, and I got an H-pipe added on that one as well. So I always do that. Always love the sound. So that's something I'm definitely missing with these two cars, my exhaust. Because this car sounds good. It's not a V8 though. And this car sounds, you can hear stuff, but still no V8. You can't replace the sound of a V8. And I'm missing that in my life. So that is the drawback of not having one. I'm missing that. Also, the torque. V8s have the instant torque, minus the GT350. You gotta rev it up for it. But all my other cars, press the accelerator, gone. So that's something I miss. The GR Corolla, I gotta rev it out, kind of like the GT350. The Integra, it's got torque down low, but it's not the same downbeat as you get with a V8. It's gotta be patient. It's just not as dramatic as the V8s. So I'm missing that as well. So if you're wondering, I do miss my V8s. Do I regret selling them? I have no regrets whatsoever. Another thing, I want to talk about the enjoyment. Just the car culture of the V8 cars. I'm in the Motor City, so I get to see a lot of muscle cars around here. And now I'm an oddball because I don't have one at all now. I got these Japanese cars, and I kind of don't fit in with the car culture here. So I'm missing out on that. Like, I'm still cool with my Camaro crew, still meet up with them even though I don't have a Camaro. Y'all wondering if I enjoy driving these cars as much as I do the V8s? I honestly enjoy driving these cars more than the V8s because I can hit those limits. I can drive this car at its full limits, and I've driven this car at its full limits on the track. The other cars, I just can't do it. Like the Hellcat, that car was laughably powerful. Who needs that much power? It's fun. You do burnouts for days. It's loud, and people love it. It's a comfortable car too. It's like the only one with 5 seats. But on a day-to-day basis, it just wasn't that fun for me. Like the Hellcat that I had, it was a slim body, so it didn't handle. The most fun of the muscle cars that I have had was my SS1LE. I had the most fun with that. I believe it's the power and the weight. So I had nice power, so it wasn't slow off the line, and it could handle extremely well. Really, really well that car handled. So that car was probably the best car that I have had. It's not the most fun. It's extremely fun. I'll put it up there with my M2 as the most fun car, and probably this one. But the SS1LE, that would be the car that I would most likely buy again. Probably followed by the GT350 or some kind of Mustang, because I love Mustangs too. Which one? It just depends. I'm not a fan of the first or the S650s. I wasn't a fan of the S550s when they first came out, but they grew on me. In certain trims I like them, like the GT350 was the best one. The new ones, the regular GTs right now, not a fan of. Dark Horse looks better. They're okay to me, looks wise, but the performance is there, but the weight went up. And that's what takes away from the enjoyment to me, not being able to toss the cars, just swing the cars around the corner. You can't do that in a muscle car. You gotta watch it, because that's a lot of weight and heft to carry around. And these cars are featherweights compared to my muscle cars. So this car is like 3,300 pounds. This car is 3,200 pounds. And the lightest of my muscle cars was 3,700 pounds. The SS1LE ZL1 was 3,900 pounds. GT350 was like 3,700 pounds, 3,750, something like that. Hellcat was 4,000 pounds, maybe 4,200 pounds. That car was tank. But I think that takes away from the fun of it. So having fun with lightweight cars, loving it now. How could I sell my V8? How could I sell your dream car? And the simple answer for that is, I just got a car addiction. It's simple. I can't keep a car. Whatever car I get, I just don't keep. So I always wonder, what if there's something that I haven't experienced that I might like. Hence these two cars. These are something different than what I've had before in the past. So a lot of the times people think I dislike a car when I sell it. That's never the case. I just sell cars to sell cars. Like some of the cars I sell, I was able to make a profit off a few of them, especially in the last couple years. But I just sell a car. I might wake up tomorrow and not want this car. I might not want that car. And it'll just be like, all right, what can I get next? And I'll just do it at the drop of a dime. That's normally how it works for me. Like, I'll love my cars. One day, like with the M2, for example, I drove the M2 CS, and that car was better than my M2. And at that point, I'm like, all right, this is the best car anymore out there. So I was willing to sell the M2 and bring these two on board. So it's never about the car. It's just me as a person. So I do these reviews so you all can get a perspective on these cars for how you may like it with my style of life. It's just a comparison from my life to yours. So putting it out here, if you guys don't have the car, I'm just here to share the experience with the cars. All of the cars that I've owned are great cars, but it's a revolving door around these parts, man. I don't hate my V8s that I did have. Still great experiences. Wouldn't trade it for nothing. But unfortunately, I got a limited budget and I can't have all the cars. I would definitely have, in the perfect world, I would have this, that, and one of my rear-wheel drive muscle cars. But my budget only allows for me to have a couple combinations or just one big ticket on the car. So right now it's these two. Probably next year I'll go back to a V8 in some way or fashion or form. Rear-wheel drive, definitely. I need one of those. I do miss the attention that my V8s got, because those cars would attract crowds like new burnouts. Like when I go down to the Dream Cruise, people would always shout at me, just giving me peace signs, just thumbs up to the cars. These cars don't get that kind of attention at all. Not around these parts. Get a little bit of attention. This car actually gets more attention than that car. I don't understand it, but it is what it is. But I do miss the attention that my V8s did have. Just the sound, which I really miss, and then the torque. So while I do have my time with these cars, I'm gonna hone in on my driving skills. That's my main focus, to get better at driving. And these cars will help me get that. If I feel like I've outgrown these platforms, I'm definitely going back to a higher horsepower car. But these cars are fun in their own right. And they'll hang with those cars on these tracks too that I've been going to. As long as it's a tight technical track where the top speed, the tracks that I go to, you can't hit more than 130 on them in the straightaways. And these cars can almost do that, but they're going to make up for it in the turns. That's all I got to give for you all today. Am I a muscle car guy? No, I'm not any car guy. I just like cars in general because I own a car now. Like looking at this, you might think I'm a JDM car guy. No, I just like cars in general. Whatever I can get at the time, that's what I get. I have no connections to any automotive brand. I'm not a brand loyalist to anybody. I just like individual cars. If it's a good car, I like it. That's what I'm gonna leave you all with today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell about the channel. I'll catch you all in the next video.